Hello everyone, you are on the channel, The Middle Ages. Today we're diving deep into a topic that shaped an entire era, the knightly code of honor. We often picture knights in shining armor, jousting for a lady's favor, but was that the reality? What did it truly mean to live by a code of honor in the Middle Ages? Let's find out. The code of honor wasn't a single written rule book. It was more like a collection of ideals, a moral compass for the noble warrior class. It evolved over centuries, starting around the 11th century, and it wasn't the same everywhere in Europe. A knight in France might have a slightly different understanding of honor than one in Germany or England. But at its core, the code revolved around a few key principles: chivalry, prowess, loyalty, and piety. First, let's talk about prowess or martial skill. For a knight, being a formidable warrior was non-negotiable. This wasn't just about winning battles, it was about demonstrating courage, strength, and skill in combat. A knight was expected to train relentlessly with swords, lances, and on horseback. Tournaments, which we often see in movies, were the perfect stage for knights to showcase their prowess, earn fame, and win valuable prizes. But prowess wasn't about mindless aggression. True honor meant fighting fairly and bravely, facing an opponent head-on, and never striking an unarmed foe. It was about mastering the art of war, not just the act of killing. Next up is loyalty. This was the bedrock of the feudal system. A knight's primary loyalty was to his lord, the one who granted him land or supported him. This bond was sealed by an oath of fealty, a sacred promise to serve and protect his lord in exchange for patronage. Breaking this oath was one of the most disgraceful things a knight could do. It meant being branded a traitor. But loyalty extended beyond just the lord. Knights were expected to be loyal to their comrades in arms, their family, and their king. This web of loyalties could sometimes get complicated, especially when a knight had multiple lords, creating a real test of his honor. Then we have piety, or religious devotion. The church played a massive role in shaping the code of honor. It sought to temper the violent nature of the warrior class by infusing it with Christian values. Knights were encouraged to be soldiers of Christ. This meant defending the church, protecting the weak and the innocent, and upholding justice. The Crusades are a prime example of this ideal in action, where knights were called upon to fight for their faith in the Holy Land. Piety added a spiritual dimension to a knight's duty, transforming him from a mere fighter into a guardian of the Christian world. Being a good Christian was integral to being an honorable knight. And of course, we can't forget chivalry, especially the concept of courtly love. This is the part that has been most romanticized over the centuries. Chivalry, in this context, meant showing courtesy, respect, and generosity, particularly towards women of noble birth. A knight was expected to serve a lady, often a married noblewoman, dedicating his deeds of valor to her. This wasn't necessarily a romantic relationship in the modern sense. It was more of an inspirational, idealized devotion. He would wear her colors in tournaments, write poetry for her, and strive to be worthy of her admiration. This ideal of courtly love helped to refine the rough manners of the warrior class, promoting grace, eloquence, and self-control. So did every knight live up to these lofty ideals? Absolutely not. The reality was often far messier. For every honorable knight, there were many who were brutal, greedy, and self-serving. The code of honor was an ideal, a standard to strive for, not a universal reality. Many knights were more interested in plunder and power than in protecting the innocent. Historical accounts are filled with stories of knights who exploited peasants, broke their oaths, and used their strength for personal gain. The line between a noble knight and a glorified mercenary could be very thin indeed. Furthermore, the code was exclusive. It applied primarily to the nobility. The vast majority of the population, the peasants, the serfs, the merchants, were outside this circle of honor. A knight's duty to protect the weak often didn't extend to the common folk who worked his lands. Their lives and well-being were secondary to the political and military ambitions of the ruling class. So, while the code of honor sounds noble, it was part of a rigid social hierarchy that was often oppressive for those at the bottom. So what's the legacy of the knightly code of honor? It's huge. Even though the age of knights in armor has long passed, the ideals of chivalry and honor have endured. The concept of being a gentleman, of showing respect, courage, and integrity, has its roots in this medieval code. These ideas have shaped our literature, our films, and our understanding of what it means to be a hero. From King Arthur's Round Table to modern-day stories of valor, the echo of the knightly code is still with us. It reminds us of a time when honor was considered the highest virtue, something worth fighting, and even dying for. It was a complex and often contradictory system, a blend of brutal reality and soaring idealism. But it was this very code that defined the knight and left a permanent mark on Western culture. It wasn't perfect, and it wasn't always followed, but the aspiration to be honorable, to be more than just a warrior, is a powerful legacy. What do you think? Was the code of honor a genuine moral guide or just a convenient justification for the warrior elite? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for joining me on The Middle Ages today. If you enjoyed this journey back in time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure. See you next time.